First, though, it is time for a few underreported holy mackerel stories in today's news. The truck bomb that killed at least 53 people and injured more than 250 others on Saturday at the Marriott Hotel in Islamabad, Pakistan, contained a lethal accelerant found in some of the world's most powerful weapons, aluminum powder. And that's very alarming. After the six-wheeler rammed the hotel's security barrier 60 feet from the hotel, shots were fired, the truck went up in flames, then eventually an estimated 1,300 pounds of military-grade explosives on the truck, including TNT, aluminum powder, grenades, and mortars, exploded. The force of the blast left a 27-foot crater and triggered a fire that engulfed the five-story hotel. The fire reached more than 750 degrees Fahrenheit, which rendered the hotel's sprinkler system useless, and this was all from 60 feet away. In advanced weapons, the addition of aluminum powder can produce a subsonic or even supersonic shock wave. It's a thermobaric blast. That kind of blast could extend the radius of a truck bomb's effectiveness dramatically. When asked who was responsible for the attack in Pakistan, Pakistan's Interior Ministry's top official was quoted as saying, "All roads lead to Waziristan," which is where intelligence officials say Pakistani troops, our allies in the war on terror, yet again shot at U.S. helicopters today as they attempted to cross the border from Afghanistan into North Waziristan. The U.S. helicopters did not return fire, but reportedly they did try to make another attempt 30 minutes later, whereupon they were greeted with another round of Pakistani warning shots. Pentagon officials are denying that report. Meanwhile, an envoy carrying Afghanistan's newly appointed ambassador to Pakistan was ambushed today in the Pakistani city of Peshawar. The diplomat was on his way home when 6 armed men kidnapped him and killed his driver. More signs of Pakistan's deteriorating security situation after billions of dollars in U.S. aid since 9/11. Oh, and by the way, they've got nuclear weapons. Here at home, the state of Georgia is scheduled to execute a convicted murderer tomorrow, even though 7 out of 9 witnesses who testified against him have recanted their testimony. And there's no murder weapon, no fingerprints, and no DNA tying him to the crime. 39-year-old Troy Davis was sentenced to death for the murder of a Savannah police officer that took place nearly 20 years ago. A spokesperson for the state parole board said there would be no last-minute clemency. The U.S. Supreme Court is scheduled to decide whether to hear Mr. Davis's appeal, but they're scheduled to make that decision 6 days after tomorrow's planned execution. Attorneys for Davis have asked the state to postpone the execution. Figures as varied as Libertarian presidential candidate Bob Barr and former President Jimmy Carter and the Pope have all requested clemency, but the Georgia Supreme Court denied Davis's request for a stay of execution this afternoon. Finally, 9 days after Hurricane Ike, nearly 1 million people in Texas are still without power. But across the southeast, effects of Ike are still being felt in the form of a gas shortage. For many residents in Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee, shortages have made ordinary life nearly impossible. AAA says residents in Nashville are being hit hardest by long lines, high prices, and empty pumps. 9 major refineries in the Gulf are still offline. Prices could rise even further following the biggest one-day spike in oil prices ever earlier today. No power, no gasoline? Heck of a job. You know, when infrastructure nerds like me talk about us being resilient as a country, being hard to hurt, able to take a punch and get right back up again, this is what we're talking about.